So I built this AI workflow in a couple of hours, and someone actually paid me $3,000 for it. And it wasn't anything too complex or advanced. The nicest thing about it is that I'm going to be working with that client for other 4 or 5 figures projects now. In this video, I'm going to be breaking down what the problem was that the client needed to fix, how I approach the design of this solution, how the AI workflows work, and what the end results and ROI are for the client. Let's get right into it. Okay, let's talk about the client's problem. This client came to me with a very specific problem. He's an accounting firm that has a bunch of restaurants as clients. And basically, he's got employees that spend their time analyzing profit and loss reports for over 40 restaurants right now, and they plan on scaling. And those employees have to do this every week because they want to catch the problems as soon as they happen, okay? So this takes over 40 minutes per restaurant per week. So as you can see, this is a massive time-consuming task. And the more restaurants, so the more clients that they get under them, the more time this is going to consume and the more employees they're going to need. So this is something that the client wanted to see if AI could actually help with. And if I just give you a little bit of the math here, we have 40 restaurants, let's just take as a base measure, times 40 minutes per restaurants. It gives us 1.6K divided by 60 minutes. It costs approximately 26.67 hours per week right now with the current amount of clients just to do the profit and loss analysis. And mind you, this is only one of the process they have to do every week for those clients. Okay, so there's plenty of more things. Over a month, that equates to around 115 hours per month. So this is significant, okay? The way I decided to approach this solution is to not go fully AI like they wanted to do. Okay, so what they wanted was basically an AI that just plugs into QuickBooks, analyze the data, the top level data, and basically says if there are anomalies. The reason why I thought this was not a good idea is because using AI like this for a lot of financial data is gonna lead to false positive and a lot of tweakings into the AI itself. And so the project goes from what I thought initially was somewhat of a small, medium projects in terms of times to a very, very big projects where you have to tweak the AI to make sure that everything works, okay? So the way I decided to approach this was to use statistics at first. So what we do is we are gonna query the reports every week. We get a report for all the clients, and we wanna build something that's called a distribution norm here. Okay, so you might have seen this. Well, actually, let me redraw this. You might have seen curves that looks like bell curve like this, and then you'd see that the average sits in the middle at 0. And the way that you can use this for projects like this is that once you build your norm, so your whole curve here, with all the statistics that you have prior to the current month that you're querying, you can determine, okay, is something deviating too much from the norm? So let's say something that would be here, for example, is this deviating too much from the norm? And in this instance, I'm just gonna put 3 here, we would say, yes, this is a significant deviation, okay? And statistics, generally speaking, we can say, this curve could be a little bit more like this, but in statistics, whoops, let me put it back like this. We could generally say that, okay, if it has 2, so we call this number here, we call this sigma. If it has a sigma of 2, it likely means that it's a significant deviation. So there's a problem here. Okay, it deviates too much from the norm, the normal. So we went with a base of 2 here. And basically when we're doing some math in the backend, I'm going to show you the workflow after. If it reaches sigma of 2, then we flag this. And then after that, we use AI to analyze. Okay, there's a problem here. We go into the transactions and we try to analyze why is that problem occurring, and like what's the possible transaction that might be doing the problem. Okay, to build this, the more data, the better it is. Okay, if you only have, let's say, 2 months of data and you're trying to build a norm distribution out of this, then it's not going to be as accurate as if you have, for example, the past 12 months. Okay, Another problem that we have for this is the client wanted to do this every week on Wednesday. This doesn't work by default because Wednesday might be the second of a month, for example. And if you're querying the second of a month, you don't have any data. Like, realistically speaking, not all businesses actually put all their transactions and invoice inside QuickBooks every day. I don't do that. So we needed to structure this in a way where we would compare apple to apple, and also make sure that it leaves sometimes for the restaurants to actually put all their transactions on QuickBooks. Okay, so the way I decided to approach this is, in a given month, usually you have, well, you always have the first of the month, and then you have somewhere in the middle here days up until 28 to 31 in some months. Okay, to separate this, what we can do is, instead of saying, okay, every week we're going to do it, we're going to do it about every week. So we say, okay, we're going to do a report from the 1st to the 7th of every month. Okay, it's a week. And then we can say we're going to do a report also on the 15th to give an extra 7 days. So we're going to do a report from the 1st to the 15th. Then from the 1st to the 23rd. And then a full monthly report. So from the 1st to the 28 to 31. You're going to see I'm mentioning this because this is important, so we compare apples to apples for a system like that when it comes to statistics. Okay. The reason why we do this and we don't do like 7 to 15 or 15 to 23rd is because we actually get more data this way. So we get a given report format. So here we have a format every first week of the month, and then we're going to go in QuickBooks and compare every first week of the past 12 months together. And then for the second report on the 15th, we're going to compare every 1st to 15th day of every month. So it gives more data and it gets more accurate as we get to the end of the month. Okay, so very important you understand this, but I'm also going to show it right now inside N8N with the workflow. This, what I just showed about the dates, basically happens in this coding node here. Okay, so what this does, if I just run it, it's going to take the date of today. And right now, as of the time of making this video, we're the 21. Okay, so this is going to take the interval start date from the 1st of October to the 23rd. Okay, and we can see here we get all the different months. So October, September, August, and we get all those time period. This is important because when we're going to get into this API call to QuickBooks right here, you're going to see here in the URL, we have actually those are start date and end date. So we're comparing apple to apple, okay? 1st to 23rd. I wouldn't be running this workflow right now on the 21 because the range is actually from the 1st to the 23rd. And so if you run this before, let's say I run it on the 19th. Well, it's going to compare the range from 1st to 23rd of all the previous months. So there might be some transactions that you're used to having on the 22nd, for example, that are not going to be there if you're querying on the 19th. So this is why you need some specific range, because some recurring payments always happen on the same day. Okay. So this is one of the things that we had to build around. It looks complex, but in this sense it's super simple. It's about comparing apple to apple. Okay. One thing I want to show here is we have a Google Sheet at the beginning. We're querying as some kind of database because this client didn't have a database, so we're using Google Sheet with all the different restaurants. So the Google Sheet looks like this. Basically, we have the account manager, and they use Monday.com as their project management. We have the account manager, then the ID of this account manager, because Monday.com requires an ID to associate someone to a new task. Then we have the restaurant name, so you could picture there's like 40 of those. Then this is an ID that we need for QuickBooks reports. Basically, this is called the Realm ID, but it's basically a company ID that you use and the API calls to get the reports. Then the Sigma here, this is a super interesting feature that we built. Basically, we import that Sigma, as you can see here, and we made it variable, dynamic, basically. Okay, so right now by default we have two. I said at the beginning of the video, if I go in here and we have something that deviates 2 from the mean, then this is when we want to be flagging. But we made it so that the client could decide to modify this, or into a given projects, we could decide to have the AI learn when too much flagging, when there's too much flagging, or when there's not enough flagging. Okay. Generally speaking here, if I take my pen, the higher sigma you go, the less flags you're gonna get. You're only gonna get the extremes. Okay, so if you don't have many flags, okay, so this is minus flags, then you might not capture everything that you want to capture. But if you go lower, okay, so well, not below 0, but if you go lower, so let's say you go at 1, what's going to happen is that you're going to get more flag. But this can also be an issue, because if you have too many flags, now you're flagging things that are not really problems, they're not anomalies. Okay, so there's a fine balance between the two. We decided to go with 2 at the current moment. So we have this Google sheet that captures those dynamic variables. Then we put this into set variables right here. Then we get the date, and what happens here is we get the 12 months output, the 12 range basically, and then we loop over those 12 range. We query QuickBooks 12 times, so October, September, August, whatever. Then this is basically a node that allows us to format everything, because if you've ever played with QuickBooks API, the way it gives you the reports, it's super messy, so we need to do some cleaning here. And basically it gives us the categories, the value, percentage of income, and then we arrange every transactions together. Okay, so this is just some formatting. Then after the loop, what we do is we aggregate everything together, and then we have again another coding node. So what I'm going to do right here is just execute the workflow so that we actually have everything, and the AI is going to work at the same time, and I'm going to show you what's the end result. Here, this actually calculates for every categories in the reports, everything. What's the mean? So the mean here would be the 0 on the distribution norm, and what's the deviation? So 1 sigma. 1 sigma is 0.53 here. Okay, so that would be 0.53 in terms of value. 2 sigma then is 1.06. Okay, then the way this works, it's actually super simple. If the mean is minus 2.63, if I deviate, let's say I go to minus 3.8, okay, this is going to be over 2 sigma. So this is going to be a flag. This is going to be a problem. Okay, in this scenario, I have an outlier. I have one that poses a problem. So here, super easy to see. The mean was 2.44. The STD, so the sigma, was 1.14. So if I do times 2, 2.28 plus 2.44, and then we have October is actually 5.4. So we can see there's a problem here. Like it's over 2 sigma. So there's only one flag. That's super good. What this is going to do here is actually look into all the expenses now, and then feed this into the AI. And then the AI is going to output, is going to do a summary, it's going to do a report, and then we're going to receive, this is going to be the end thing that we receive. And then if I go into Claude here, and I say, put this into a readable format, like this, and then you're going to be able to read exactly what this does. So this is what the client receives in his money.com. We create a task for him based on this. Okay, so you could see, okay, right now October is 4.4k, but normally it ranges between 2.2 to 3.2k in expenses. So there's something here, either something that was misclassified or a bigger expense. But for the accounting firm, they can confirm this with the client now. Did they actually put something that wasn't going in there? Okay, the AI is going to give a breakdown of every transactions and then the potential explanations of this. So super cool workflow. It's going to do this across all the different clients, and then if it finds anomalies, it's going to create a flag, and then create a task for the employee to just go verify, hey, we got something here, just go and check. Okay. So how does this translate into ROI? What's the end results for the client here? This saves a lot of times, obviously. And the more that the client scales, the more time this is going to save. In terms of, let's just say, monetary value real quick. Okay. We're going to go conservative. And can I actually delete this? Yes. Okay. So we had 115 hours per month approximately. Let's go conservative and say that the employees cost $30 an hour. That's about 2.4K for one employee, okay? Just for basically per month for this one workflow. Over 12 months, that's over 41.6K save, okay? That is only one workflow. That is with the current number of clients they have. If they double their capacity, obviously, this is going to translate to about 83K. So as you can see, this one workflow has a very big financial impact on their operations. Now with this client, because this is providing so much ROI, we decided that we're going to do order of their workflows to save more of those times. Okay, so essentially we're kind of removing the jobs of junior content here. But yeah, this workflow is providing tangible ROI. It's made with AI. It's a mix of statistics with AI, so it's super interesting. If you found this video informative and you like it, please like, subscribe, and comment down below. I'm always curious to hear what you guys think about those workflows, and see you next week.